intended to inform and educate the public.
Welcome back to the Junkyard News, and man, do we got a story for you today. Another one out of Ohio, where some crazy body cam video shows the moment that police help a woman break into a home that she had previously lived in after she claims she has to get in to get some property. But there's a problem. She had already turned her keys into the landlord and forfeited her right to be on the property or gain access.
Body cam video from May 11th of last year. That's when 3 officers met with Ortiz's ex-girlfriend, Brittany Warner. She told them she had broken up with Ortiz and he wouldn't let her back into the home.
I just want my things and I want to get out.
Officers arrive at the home, but Ortiz refuses to let them in without a warrant.
And this comes out of Elyria, Ohio. Crazy body cam video shows Elyria police officers storming into a man's home without a warrant. He is then tased, arrested, and charged with 5 felonies. All because when he came to the door and asked what the police wanted, he asked them, "Am I in trouble with the law?" "No." "Do you have a warrant?" "No." "Then I have nothing to do with this. Have a nice day." And he proceeded to go upstairs and go about his day and get in the shower. But that wasn't good enough for the officers. And what happened next could lead to a huge monetary settlement lawsuit down the line.
So all I did was say, hey, I don't choose to talk to you then. If I'm not in trouble with you and you ain't got a warrant for me, then I ain't got nothing to say. I'm not being involved.
Officer Paige Mitchell is then heard telling Warner she has the right to break in.
Any door can be kicked in depending on how hard you work on it.
So Warner kicks the door in as officers go in behind her.
She was very aggressive.
Ortiz is heard struggling with the 2 officers. A window shatters.
Raul Ortiz says he was still reeling from the day when 3 Elyria police officers rushed into his home without a warrant. Body cam video from Elyria police officer Paige Mitchell shows how things played out back on May 11th of 2023. Now Mitchell, who has been with the department since 2015, was the senior officer on duty that day. She and fellow officer Colty Hirsch, as well as a newly hired officer Chris Lewis, met up with Ortiz's ex-girlfriend Brittany Warner. Warner had told officers that she had left Ortiz, previously lived at the home, but needed to get back in to retrieve her belongings, mainly some medication that she had left behind. And upon arrival, one officer tried coaxing Ortiz to open the door and allow Warner to go inside. Now let's take a moment to talk about the specifics as far as when a tenant moves out and needs to get back in. In most cases, what's the law there? So if someone moves out of like a rental and turns their keys in, can they get back in the home later, even that day? But in most cases, when somebody moves out of a rental and turns in their keys with the landlord, they no longer have the right to access the property unless there is some agreement in place with the landlord for temporary access. Turning in keys to the landlord is seen normally in courts as surrendering possession of the property. And in this case, when interviewed, the property landlord told news agencies she had met with the landlord, turned in her keys, and no longer had access to the property. And it's up to the landlord to grant access. The landlord may require notice and possibly even a new rental agreement or payment for additional time in the property. So once you turn in your keys, when you move out, that's it. Just like if you're, let's say, at a hotel on vacation and you pack up your stuff the next day and you're ready to leave, and you go to the front desk and you hand in your key card. You've handed in your key card. You have no ability to regain access to your room. You have forfeited that right. Oh, wait, I left something up in my hotel room. All right. Well, then they can, if they choose, they can issue a new key card or have you escorted up there and maintenance let you in to grab the property. Same situation. Once you turn in your keys, you're done. Well, the problem is when officers trying to be a mediator went up to the door to talk to Ortiz. Ortiz is heard asking officers if he's in trouble with the law. An officer confirms that he's not, so Ortiz refused their permission to enter the home because they did not have a warrant. Meanwhile, Officer Mitchell continued speaking with the ex-girlfriend. She asks her, "Don't you have keys to the house?" Warner, the ex-girlfriend, tells Mitchell, "He took my keys." But he didn't take her keys. He didn't take her keys. She had given them to the landlord when she moved out. So right there, she lied to the officer. But the officers don't do any investigation. They don't contact the landlord. They don't try to figure these things out. Like most cases, they just want to get this done, over with, and move to the next call. So at that point, after Warner had told the officer that he took my keys, Officer Mitchell is heard telling Warner that she has a right to break into the home. She says, "You live here, so if you want to kick in the door and go in and get your stuff, you're more than welcome to," says Officer Mitchell. But Warner tells the officer, but he's got a deadbolt. To which Officer Mitchell suggests any door can be kicked in, depending on how hard you work on it. So Warner then walks up to the door and kicks it open. Officer Hirsch and Lewis are then seen going into the home behind her, up the stairs as Hirsch draws his gun.
In the reports, police wrote Raul's body slammed into Officer Lewis, nearly causing him to fall out. However, Ortiz remembers it differently.
I actually grabbed the cop trying to pull him back, letting him know that I'm not trying to fight you guys, but I'm not going to put my hands behind my back because I have a medical condition.
Mitchell then walks up the stairs and tases Ortiz.
Put your hands behind your back right now. Right now.
Stop touching me. I will.
He grabs Mitchell's taser,
Put it down. Put it down.
then drops it. He's then hauled off to jail.
Mom, please help me. I didn't know wrong.
Charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated robbery for grabbing Mitchell's taser.
Were you planning to use it on the
And it's
officers?
my defibrillators right here. No, absolutely not. I would never do something like that because I know I would never win.
They didn't do a proper investigation, period.
Ortiz's attorney, Anthony Nisi, worked as a cop for decades. He says officers had no right even entering the house. Plus, if they had contacted the homeowner, he would have told them Warner had already moved out.
That day, yes. She handed us the keys and she left.
And she was out of the apartment.
Out of the house, yes.
Nisi also questions officers' claims that Ortiz could be heard threatening them when they entered the home.
If you listen to the video very closely, it's different from what the report says.
Why would I want to say something like that knowing there's cops downstairs? That's the stupidest thing a person could do.
Ortiz potentially faced years in prison if convicted, but his attorney got the charges dropped. Now they both want to see these officers brought to justice.
So what gives them the power just because they got a badge to think they can do whatever they want? Who's governing them? I want reprimand. I want officers put in jail. I want them to experience what I experienced.
You should know the officers involved were not charged with a crime or even disciplined for this incident. According to the EPD, the body cam footage we showed you is the only one they have because the other two officers' videos weren't saved due to an oversight.
Oh, there's a big surprise. That's an incredible. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
Nisi now plans to file a federal lawsuit against the department.
So their reports, of course, like we're so used to hearing or seeing, is totally different than what body camera shows. Now the attorney says, remember people, there's two different worlds we live in. Reports and actual video is the other. How often do I say? I even had a t-shirt at one time. Cops lie, video doesn't. Now the attorney did file a motion to dismiss the charges, and a Lorain County prosecutor declined to prosecute the case, dropping all charges. And they ended up expunging the arrest from the record as well. Elyria police also refused to provide news agencies with footage from Mitchell's body cam, citing it's exempt from Ohio's public record laws since the case was subsequently expunged. All charges filed against Fusick and Ortiz were dismissed and, like I said, were later expunged by the court. In this incident, news agencies claim that there has been no indication whatsoever that any investigation was done regarding this incident, and no discipline was rendered to any of the three officers whatsoever. We investigated ourselves secretly behind closed doors and found that we did no wrongdoing. Nothing whatsoever. Sure, we told a woman to break in the door. We'll just sit here and watch her do it. And we'll sneak in behind her, this trespasser. We'll sneak in behind her, go upstairs, and attack a man in his own home without a warrant, with no reasonable suspicion or probable cause that he has done anything wrong, because he had the audacity to ask us if we had a warrant, and when we said no, he said, "Have a nice day," and he left to go about his day. The nerve. The nerve, he didn't respect our authority. Now he's got to pay. Thank you again for watching the Junkyard News. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. Be careful out there in your life. Because the next video that we cover here, the next video that I cover on this channel, it may be you we're talking about in the next video. Be safe.
Videos uploaded by the Junkyard News are helped in part by viewers just like you. You can show your support for this channel by clicking the thumbs up, sharing our videos, or hitting that all-important support button on our channel page. Don't want to miss a video or a story? Make sure to check us out and like us on Facebook at The Junkyard News.